the last video we looked at the ngClick directive and the ngRepeat directive and some of the extra variables that Angular gives us access to inside that directive. Now we're going to take a look at the ngChange directive and also ngOptions. The app I'm using to show you these examples with the code on the left and the updating frame on the right is actually built in Angular. And one of the things it does is I can change the name of this particular sketch by hitting escape and then typing in this field here. And you can see I'm updating the URL. I can't type punctuation in it, but I can type numbers, and any spaces are converted to hyphens when I type. I'm doing this using the ngChange directive. ngChange, like ngClick, lets us react to an event that the user triggers, in this case changing a field or input. So in this example I've replicated a sort of fake browser. We have a URL bar and we have a text box here that we're going to use to update the URL. The first thing we'd like to do is be able to update the URL from this box. So we'll use the ngModel attribute and call the model path. Then we're going to use templating to add the path model into the value of the input. So now as I type in here, you can see that the URL updates, but I can type punctuation and spaces and things that shouldn't be in URLs. So how do we process that information so that it gets rid of spaces and punctuation? Well, we'll use the ngChange directive. So I'll add ngChange to the input that we want to listen for changes to. And like ngClick, we pass it a function. So I'm going to pass it the clean function. Then we need to add this clean function to our scope. So I'll say scope.clean is a function. And when we call it, we want to remove all the spaces from it and turn them to hyphens, and then clear out all the punctuation. So I'll say scope.clean is equal to scope.clean.replace, and then I'm going to use a regular expression to match all the spaces, and we'll match multiple spaces too, and replace that with nothing, in fact a hyphen, and then we're going to replace all punctuation with nothing. Just completely remove them. I'm just going to quickly reformat this and then add the regular expression that we need. So I think the regular expression will be, we've got a list of things but we want to ignore these, so we're going to ignore A to Z, 0 to 9 and hyphens. And this needs to be case insensitive and be a global match, and then we'll just completely remove it. So now as I type, you can see it's updating. If I type a space, maybe this shouldn't be a global match. Let's just check. No, there's definitely something wrong here. Oh, I'm overwriting the wrong model here. So now we actually need to use path, not clean, of course. So type in here and that works fine. Hello world, and you can see that my space is converted to a dash. And now if I try and type some punctuation, nothing will come out, and yeah, so basically everything's being cleaned up nicely. Let's just check I can still type numbers. I can. So that's the basic usage of ngChange. It's quite a lot like ngClick in that it runs a function, except it runs it just every time an input changes. Now let's take a look at ngOptions. ngOptions is a directive that Angular provides for us for filling out a drop-down or select box. It works a little bit like ngRepeat in that you supply it with an array and then it extracts data from that to display in the select box. We're going to build a simple contact manager to show this off. So the first thing I'll do is add the select to the page and a fake option inside with no value, just to show what we need to do. Choose a person. Now we want to make the whatever is selected in from the select box to be saved in a model, so we're going to call that selected person, and then we'll use the ngRepeat style syntax to extract people into the select box. So I'll use ngOptions. We want to extract the person's name for each person in a list of people. I'll just quickly reformat this so we can see what's going on. Now we just need to create this list of people on the scope. So I'll do scope.people is an array. And then create a set of objects that will be our people. So name Tom Ashworth, and I'll save a number for myself too. I'll make my number 1 to 0. I'll also add another person. In this case we'll add Jeffrey Way. And we'll give him a different number, 0 down to 1. And a third person who we'll call Joe Blogs. And give them a different number, 123.098.4756. Now you can see that Angular has populated our select with these people, and if I add a template to the page that shows us the selected person's name, like the selected person.name, then you'll see that when I choose a person, it shows the name that of the person I've got selected. If I switch to Jeffrey Way, it shows Jeffrey Way there. Just like in the ng repeat directive, we can filter these people according to another model. So I'll add the filter here and say we're going to use the search model. And then inside here again, I'm going to add a new input that will be our search. I'll put it in a div so it's on a new line, and then input type is search, and the model will be search. You won't see any change straight away. We'll still have all three people, but if I type J, then now we only have Jeffrey and Joe in the list. So now let's add a way to modify the person. In a new div, I'll create a form that we can use to edit them. So we'll have a label, and this will be then for their name. Then we'll create a new input and make the model on it the selected person's name. Then add a break and another label that will be the number, and we'll use the selected person.number. I'll just add an HR so you can see what's going on. Now when I choose a person, you can see that my data and my number is loaded in here, and I can change my name to Tom Blogs. And now I've got Tom Blogs, Jeffrey Way and Joe Blogs. If I edit Joe Blogs and use my surname as his, then in our list we have Joe Ashworth, Jeffrey Way and Tom Blogs. And we can search on the number too. So if I change my name back again and then take a look at each of these numbers. So we have 1, 2, 3 in this one, and we don't have 1, 2, 3 in this one, but we do have 1, 2, 3 in this one. So if I search for 1, 2, 3, then you see we get me and Joe. So that was a brief introduction to the ng change directive and the ng options directive, both which will be pretty useful as you build apps with Angular.